Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating excerpt from the ancient Mahabharata. And what's so cool about this story is that it takes our grandest, most epic expectations of immortality and just completely turns them upside down. We're going to look at a text that takes this massive, cosmic concept of living forever and grounds it in a reality that is, honestly, deeply profound and totally unexpected. You know, when we usually think about ancient myths, we imagine boundless magic and endless indulgence. But this specific encounter challenges absolutely everything we assume about what it means to truly be happy when time is no longer a factor.
So, take a second to really think about this question. If you were truly immortal, never having to face old age or death, what would actually bring you the most happiness? Would you crave unlimited power, boundless wealth, or maybe, I don't know, traveling the stars? It's totally natural to dream of a life filled with endless adventure and absolute cosmic authority when the limits of a human lifespan are just wiped away. But hold on to that thought, because what we usually imagine eternal life to be is drastically different from the reality presented in this ancient text. It literally forces us to reconsider the very foundation of what makes a single moment valuable.
Section 1. The God and the Sage. A Cosmic Encounter.
Okay, so the narrative kicks off with King Yudhishthira asking the wise Markandeya about this incredibly long-lived sage named Vaka. Markandeya starts telling a story that picks up right after a horrible, universe-shaking conflict between the gods and the Asuras. The war is finally over. Indra, the chief of the gods, the slayer of Vala, is now the undisputed ruler of the three worlds. The clouds are raining perfectly, harvests are abundant, and there's just absolute peace across creation. Filled with immense joy, Indra mounts his great elephant, Airavata, to survey his perfectly happy subjects. He's looking over prosperous towns, perfectly ruled kingdoms, just taking in this ultimate victory. And then, from this absolute peak of cosmic power, he descends to the earth, traveling to a humble, beautiful asylum by the sea in the east. And he does this just to visit the immortal ascetic, Vaka.
But here is where things get really surprising. Vaka is obviously thrilled to see the ruler of the immortals. He welcomes Indra with incredible hospitality, offering water to wash his feet, a comfortable carpet, fruits, roots, the whole shebang. Indra is seated entirely at ease in this quiet sanctuary. Now think about this. He has just won a cosmic war. He reigns supreme over a perfect, balanced universe. And yet, he turns to this immortal sage who has lived for hundreds of years and asks not about the joys, but about the sorrows of endless life. He doesn't ask for high five over their shared immortality. He immediately probes the darkness and the hidden costs of living forever.
Section 2. The Sorrows of Immortality. The Reality Check of Eternal Life. Vaka's answer brings the grand, cosmic scale of the gods crashing right down into a highly pragmatic, painfully human reality. He explains that living endlessly is actually a massive burden. It means you are guaranteed to outlive your loved ones. You're going to watch your sons, your wives, your family, and your closest friends age and die over and over again, leaving you behind every single time. And on the flip side, you are perpetually stuck living alongside disagreeable, toxic people who simply will not go away. He points out the deep pain of having to depend on others over centuries and having to witness destitute men being constantly insulted by the wealthy. Plus, you have to watch the endless, unpredictable reversals of fortune that hit gods and men alike.
But the ultimate sorrow of immortality, according to Vaka, is being forced to witness an endless cycle of cosmic injustice. It's like, on one hand, you have to watch the foolish, the ignorant, and the ill-born somehow stumble into cheerfulness and prosperity, acquiring this family dignity they absolutely do not deserve. They just thrive despite their massive flaws. And on the other hand, you have to watch the learned, the wise, and the noble suffer misery, woe, and humiliation at the hands of those very same people. The wicked rise and the righteous fall. To Vaka, having a front-row seat to this contradictory, incredibly unfair reality for all of eternity, without ever being able to look away or find an end to it, is the absolute ultimate torment.
Section 3. The Simple Joys of Forever. The Unexpected Secret.
So, naturally hoping for a slightly more uplifting answer, Indra then asks Vakaya to describe the joys of those that lead deathless lives. You know, the kind of joys that even gods and Rishis adore. And this is where the massive philosophical weight of the text really lands. We have our grand human expectations, which were probably shared by Indra: ambrosia, ultimate power, cosmic dominance, endless celestial parties. But Vakaya shatters those expectations completely. He reveals that the absolute peak of eternal happiness is simply cooking scanty vegetables in your own house, completely free from the presence of wicked friends. No grand banquets, no universal adoration, just quiet, uninterrupted peace in your own space. Let's break down exactly why this is so joyful according to the sage. Vaka fiercely emphasizes that true happiness stems entirely from independence and hospitality. Earning your food by your own efforts, even if it's just basic fruits and vegetables, makes you entitled to respect. It is all about not having to depend on a single other's soul. Actually, he's incredibly aggressive about the alternative. He says that eating at another's house out of dependence, even if the food is rich and sweet, is despicable if it's given in contempt. He literally says, "Fie on the food of that mean wretch, who like a dog or a rakshasa eats at another's house." For him, true eternal joy is found in feeding your guests, your servants, and your ancestors first, and then peacefully eating whatever is left over in your own home with a clear conscience.
To really prove his point about the immense power of this simple hospitality, Valaka shares a staggering metric. He tells Indra that every single mouthful of rice a good Brahmana eats, after having first served a guest, produces merit equal to gifting 1,000 cows. Doing this instantly washes away all the sins they might have committed in their youth. It's this daily, mundane act of kindness and independence that generates absolute world-clearing purity. It elevates the quiet, simple act of taking care of others and oneself way, way above any massive celestial victory or grand display of divine power.
Section 4. The Scholar's Confusion, a metatextual disconnect.
Now let's zoom out and step outside the ancient story itself for a moment, because it is fascinating to see how modern scholars reacted to Vaka's incredibly grounded, mundane answer. Down in the translator's footnotes of the source text, there is this hilarious meta-twist. The scholars translating this epic were completely and utterly bazzled. I mean, the literal chief of the gods is asking about the ultimate joys of endless life, and Vaka goes off talking about house guests, cooking at the right time of day, and eating leftover vegetables. The academics simply didn't know what to do with it. They could not reconcile this grand cosmic setting with such a remarkably ordinary conclusion.
They actually referred to Vashka's profound philosophical answer as a rigmarole, which basically means a confusing, complicated, and seemingly irrelevant statement. Why? Because the translators, much like us, were expecting a divine answer to a divine question. They wanted magic. They wanted philosophy of the cosmos or the grand secrets of the universe. This reaction perfectly highlights the massive disconnect between our cinematic, over-the-top fantasies of what immortality should look like and Vashka's deeply practical, grounded wisdom about what it actually takes to survive forever with your mind and soul intact.
But here is the thing. As another footnote in the very same text subtly points out, Valaka was right all along. The secret to enduring eternal life isn't a single cosmic event. It's not winning a war or having endless wealth or ruling over 3 worlds. Those things fade, they become boring, or they just ultimately tie you to toxic people and a cycle of dependency. The true secret to endless happiness is a bliss that can be repeated, sustainably, from day to day forever. It's that simple, repetitive daily rhythm of personal independence, quiet dignity, and genuine hospitality. That is literally the only kind of joy that won't eventually run out.
Which brings us to the end of this explainer. If forever is really just an infinite series of everyday moments, where do you find your immortal joy and simple independence? I want to leave you with that provocative thought to ponder. I really invite you to reflect on Valaka's ancient, grounded wisdom and how it applies to the way we all live our modern lives today. True happiness might just be cooking your own vegetables and enjoying your own peace. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this incredible philosophical text, and remember to keep seeking out the profound in the everyday.